What's up, everyone? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and it is time to give you my early 2023-2024 college football playoff early top contenders / dark horses for the upcoming 2023 college football season. It's really too early to do these college football playoff early top contenders / dark horses, but this is pretty much an early preview of, the teams, yesterday from the early top 25 video. Pretty much, some teams that in each conference that have a legitimate chance to be top contenders or dark horses, and that's pretty much how the video works. I will give you pretty much top contenders from each conference, and then give you some dark horses that may have a chance to get in, but the top contenders legit have to be, playoff contenders as well. And then the dark horses contenders will probably be like some team that can, possibly get it in. So that's why we're doing this pretty early. And I want to remind you that this is not simply a prediction. This is simply a projection. It's early in the season. It's early off season as well, because we don't know what the rosters are going to look like either, but that's how the video works. And then next Sunday, I think I'm going to pretty much, start on those schedule previews and projected records to kick off the off season and everything. I'll probably try to do every single Power 5 team. And before we start this video, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe if you are new, and if you love sports. I pretty much do all content on sports, pretty much, mostly college football or maybe NFL, maybe like basketball. So if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I'll try to get a video out every single day. But let's get right into it here with my 2023/24 college football playoff early top contenders / dark horses for the upcoming 2023 season. Not a projection, not a prediction, simply a projection based off, from the way too early top 25 from yesterday. So let's just jump right into it here. We'll start with the ACC Top Contenders. I got Clemson and Florida State as my top contenders here. Clemson finishing out the year last year at 11-3. You got a new quarterback now coming into next year. So, Caleb Klubnik, didn't really look good in the Orange Bowl, but, pretty much, if he can probably stay consistent. The last couple years, the quarterback position has not been pretty good for Clemson. That kind of really does concern me heading into the season. But like I said, it's pretty early. Things could really change up. I mean, maybe Clemson could probably have good quarterback play heading into this season, but that's really what just concerns me about the Clemson offense, is just the quarterback position and the wide receivers as well. If the wide receivers can step up for the Clemson quarterback, Caleb Klubnik, if they can really step up for him, Clemson could be a really good team next year. But, that's just what concerns me about the Clemson offense, the passing game, and also the quarterback situation. DJ Ogale is now transferred, but Clemson's got another freshman quarterback coming in, but yeah, over the last couple years, we just haven't seen, that same, Clemson quarterback that they used to have, like Trevor Lawrence, for example, and then Deshaun Watson. So, yeah, Clemson's going to have to find that next guy. Well, hopefully it's Caleb Klubnik heading into the season, probably next year. And for Florida State, this is a team that returns a lot of production, including from last year. It's not just the, overall recruiting class. It's not about the players that are returning this year. It's really about the transfer portal. They really have picked up in the transfer portal since last year, and this team has a lot of hype coming into this season. If you saw the early top 25 from yesterday, they ranked this team at number 4 in the early top 25. It really could change, though. Like I said, it's really early in the year. We just don't know about the rosters yet. But Jordan Travis coming back for another season, maybe as a Heisman contender this season, and also a top 10 quarterback heading into the ACC next year, including Drake May as well in the ACC. But I think these are only the top contenders that could probably make it into the playoff, pretty much because of, how they went from last year. But Florida State could compete, for the ACC championship. But, Clemson and Florida State still have to play in the regular season, so it's going to come down to that matchup, who will be the top team in the ACC next year. Moving on to my ACC Dark Horses contenders, I only have one for you, and that is the North Carolina Tar Heels. I really couldn't put them at the top contender spot because of how their season went from last year, but the biggest hype for them coming into this year is obviously Drake May coming back at quarterback. What is he going to be like? I mean, he overthrew 4,000 yards from the season last year. And if he can have a pretty good year and stay consistent with the pocket and also stay healthy, North Carolina has a chance to win 10 games this upcoming season. I mean, I think they can probably do that. I mean, they almost came to winning 10 games last year, but they ended up, just winning 9 games. But yeah, overall, North Carolina was a team that we just didn't know what they're going to look like from last year. This year, we just really know all about them now. They are now heading into the next season pretty much as the favorite, maybe in the Coastal Division. And like I said, I think the Coastal Division will be wide open next year, but I think this is the only dark horse contender I really see in the ACC that could probably make the playoff, and that's just the North Carolina Tar Heels. I really don't see anybody challenging maybe for next year, but I think Miami could probably challenge perhaps. I mean, they had a terrible season last year, but pretty much this is the only team that I can put here in the dark horse contender category for the ACC. So that is my ACC top contenders and the dark horses for the ACC conference. Now we move on to the Big Ten. My top contenders here, I got 3 of them. I got Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. These teams are all in the Big Ten East. We'll start with Ohio State first. They lose C.J. Stroud at quarterback, but that really doesn't matter. They're going to still be that really good of an offense. If they can improve on the defensive side of the ball, I think this team could really have a big shot to maybe be one of the top defenses in the Big Ten next season. But Ohio State, lots of things to turn around. Of course, they're going to have a new quarterback, like I just mentioned. C.J. Stroud will be gone, so that's really a huge loss for this Ohio State team. But we'll see how they play out. I mean, they pretty much are still a top contender because really it's hard to predict against Ohio State when it comes to, pretty much, calling them a playoff contender each and every single year. For Michigan, they return Blake Corum at running back and also J.J. McCarthy at quarterback. If you look at the roster that Michigan has coming back this year, they do return some really good, talented, guys from last year's team, including, Blake Corum. He missed out for the rest of the year. If he would have probably stayed healthy, like I mentioned, I think Michigan probably could have been playing for the national championship. But if he stays healthy for the next year, Michigan could very well make the national championship next year. But I definitely think they are in that top contender playoff conversation heading into this season. The defense should be pretty good as well for this Michigan team. Penn State, another team that I could see being a top contender coming into this year. Like I said, it's pretty early. It's simply a projection. I probably could put Penn State out of there in the next, pretty much, my predictions coming on later in the summer and everything. But Penn State will lose Sean Clifford, but they have a backup quarterback that's pretty good. I think he was like the number 2 pocket passer from last year. So, yeah, the Big Ten overall, I really don't see any dark horses here. I was going to put a dark horse contender, maybe Iowa probably in that conversation because of Cade McNamara coming in, but I really don't see anybody getting past these 3 teams in the Big Ten East. I think clearly Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State really own the Big Ten, but right now, as of right now, Michigan controls that Big Ten East. Maybe Ohio State will finally get revenge on them, and Michigan probably will lose to Ohio State this year in the regular season. The good news is you get that game at home. Penn State and Ohio State and Michigan all have to play each other in the regular season. So, yeah, the Big Ten obviously was a tough, conference to predict last year for some other sports channels. And I think, if you look at all the teams in the Big Ten West, I don't really think anybody has a legitimate chance to get into that dark horse conversation. And like I said, I probably could have put Iowa in there, but I'm just going to not call Iowa a dark horse contender. I think it's going to take time for Iowa to regroup. So, move on to the Big 12 now. I don't have any top contenders for the Big 12, but I have some dark horses, and that's just Texas and Oklahoma. I really don't see anybody else in the Big 12 probably being in that dark horse conversation. And also, I really don't see a Big 12 team maybe, competing for the college football playoff next year. But there could be a change. There could be a change to my playoff top contenders and dark horses heading into next year. But as of right now, my dark horses are Texas and Oklahoma. For Texas, they bring in Arch Manning at quarterback. If he has a pretty good season next year, Texas could be legitimately a playoff contender. But right now, as of right now, I'm calling them just a dark horse contender just because of the season they had last year at 8-5, losing their bowl game. And the Big 12, has had a tough time in the playoff, but at least a playoff team went in there. That was TCU. But for Oklahoma, they bring back Dylan Gabriel at quarterback. If he can stay healthy, Oklahoma could probably be that good offensive team that we saw there in the early year. And I think that injury to Dylan Gabriel kind of hurt them as well, so maybe Oklahoma will start to turn things around this year. But as of right now, these are pretty much the only 2 teams in the Big 12 I see just being dark horse contenders. Not saying they're going to be playoff contenders just yet, but These are pretty much the only teams. I don't think Baylor is in that conversation. Maybe they could be in there, but, TCU definitely, I don't think they will be in there this year. Oklahoma State, I can't put them in there. And I know Kansas State just won the Big 12 championship last year, but I can't put them in there either, just because, the losses kind of hurt them as well. But that's the only my dark horse contenders in the Big 12. Now let's go to the Pac-12. Here are my top contenders for the Pac-12. We got 4 of them. We got Washington, USC, Utah, and Oregon. And the thing about these 4 teams here in the Pac-12, they all returned their quarterbacks from last year. Like Washington, they returned their quarterback from last year. USC will return Caleb Williams. Utah will return Cam Rising. And then Oregon, Bo Nix coming back for another year. So the Pac-12 is going to be crazy next year, full of veteran experienced quarterbacks, and maybe they could lead their team into that top contender conversation for the Pac-12. And I can really see one of these Pac-12 teams making it in. Who I think has the best shot? Well, I really don't know because it's early in the year. Maybe I can probably say who I think has the better percentage maybe in the later part of the year because I really don't know what the rosters are going to look like. All I know, though, is that all these Pac-12 teams that you're seeing right now all return their quarterbacks from last year. You look at Washington, they turned things around, went 11-2, beat Texas in their bowl game. USC went to the Pac-12 championship, lost to Utah, but then they lost to Cotton Bowl. I'm not too concerned about the offense for USC. I'm a little bit concerned about the defense, though, for them. I mean, maybe they can probably turn it around this year if they can get good defensive play. Maybe they'll be a legitimate, dangerous team next year in the Pac-12. Utah, Cam Rising back at quarterback. I'm not really too concerned about Utah either. Oregon, I'm not too concerned about either. If Bo Nix stays healthy, maybe he can probably be a Heisman candidate this year. Maybe all these Pac-12 quarterbacks could be a Heisman candidate. You never know. But the Pac-12 is going to be crazy, and I don't have any dark horse contenders for the Pac-12. I probably would have put UCLA in there, probably because of the season they had last year, but I think they're going to take a step back probably this season. But as of right now, this is pretty much the only top contenders I see in the Pac-12. 4 teams, though. That's a lot of teams in the Pac-12 that have a really good shot to make the college football playoff. All right, moving on to the SEC. I have 3 teams as my top contenders, and pretty much they're one of the top 3 teams in the SEC. Well, maybe besides Tennessee in that top 3, but we got Georgia, Alabama, and LSU. Georgia winning it all last year and winning back-to-back. They're pretty much, the top program in the SEC right now. They'll have to replace Stetson Bennett at quarterback, but they have a lot of production coming back. This is a team that will return some guys from that national championship game. And I think this Georgia team can be good enough, and maybe it's a three-peat for them. Obviously, they're the favorites to win it all next year. Again, in the way too early top 25, it was it was really not a hard pick for the committee to really pick Georgia to be the favorites once again. For Alabama, they had to replace Bryce Young at quarterback, but like I said, I think it's going to come down to that offensive line for Alabama. If they can get good offensive line, because like the last couple of seasons for Alabama's offensive line have been not really good. Bryce Young, though, is gone now, so Alabama's going to have a new quarterback who will be that next, like A.J. McCarron, Bryce Young, or one of those top quarterbacks that have been over the years. So Alabama trying to make it back to the SEC championship and also trying to make it back to the playoff. LSU, another team that could probably sneak in there as a top contender. They have to play Florida State on the schedule, but even if they lose that game, they could still get in there as an 11-1 team. It could happen. So LSU heading into next year, you got Jaden Daniels coming back. So, I mean, yeah, pretty much all 3 of these SEC teams are top contenders, legit top contenders for the college football playoff next year. But like I said, it's pretty early. We just don't know about all these teams just yet. So, like I said, this is not a prediction. This is simply a projection. So, all right, let's go to my dark horse. And I just have one dark horse contender in the SEC. That's just Tennessee. Tennessee finished pretty strong last year. This was a team that, had a chance to make the playoff. They were a top contender there for a while, but then they started to fall apart at the end of the year. But Tennessee has a pretty good chance, I believe, to make the playoff this year. But they're just a dark horse contender, in my opinion. I have to put them here in the dark horses contender because, the amount of losses they have on the offensive side of the ball. Jalen Hyatt, Cedric Tillman are gone. Hendon Hooker's gone. So, Tennessee does lose quite a bit on the offensive side of the ball. Although I'm not really too concerned about the offense for Tennessee. This team should be still really good on the offensive side of the ball. The defense really concerns me, though, for Tennessee. They lose a lot of talent on that side of the ball, including Byron Young, Trayvon Flowers, Jeremy Banks, and Jalen McCollum are gone. So, yeah, they lose a lot of talent on that side of the ball for next year. So they're going to have to replace a lot on the defensive side of the ball. But like I said, for Ohio State, if they could get, good defensive play, and same thing for USC, if they can get a good defense like in a year, this team will probably be a dangerous team next season. Joe Milton probably could be the quarterback next year for this Tennessee team, and of course they have a freshman quarterback. Maybe the quarterback competition for Tennessee will be pretty wide open, so pretty much that's all the Power 5 teams for top contenders and pretty much, dark horses as well. Do I see any, group of 5 teams probably sneaking in there? Probably so, but do I see any independent team in there? And that's the only independent team I could think of. I think Notre Dame has a chance to be a playoff contender this year. You look at who they have coming in the transfer portal. They have Sam Hardman coming in, the transfer from Wake Forest. He could probably help them out to be a playoff contender. And for Marcus Freeman, last year, that 0-2 start, they started to pick it up right off where they left off and everything. So, yeah, I can see Notre Dame being a playoff contender next year. I really see them only being the non-Power 5 team to make it in. I would probably call Notre Dame a Power 5 team, but they are an independent school, so this is pretty much the only team I see coming out of the Power 5 teams to make it in. Maybe Cincinnati could probably join that conversation. Maybe Tulane could probably join that conversation. I probably would have put Tulane in here, but maybe not. But, Notre Dame, though, I think has the best chance out of anybody outside of that group of 5 schools and pretty much the independent schools. So, yeah, Notre Dame goes 11-1. They pretty much, will still get in as a playoff contender. Maybe they go undefeated as well. You never know. But Sam Hartman, the hype for them, I think they could probably make it in there as a playoff team next season. So that's my only independent team. And those are my 2023/24 college football playoff early top contenders / dark horses for each conference coming into the 2023 offseason. But like I said, this was simply a projection. This simply will be not a prediction until the later part of the summer and everything. So I will do this video again later part in the year. So thank you guys for watching this video. And again, hit that subscribe button if you are new to this channel. Show love to all the sports content that I do here on this channel. And stay tuned here for more on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.